Muito boa noite. O documentário de hoje ganha uma redobrada atualidade numa altura em que se fala da tensão entre Europa e Rússia por causa do gás natural e também numa altura em que Moçambique se fazem gigantescos investimentos para retirar esta fonte energética do seu subsolo. Mas esta riqueza pode ter um preço muito alto. Mira Dutschke é uma advogada de direitos humanos e Jeffrey Barbie é um jornalista ambiental. Eles fizeram o trabalho que lhe vou mostrar para denunciarem ao mundo que a extração de gás natural pode ter efeitos desastrosos para a saúde das populações próximas e para o ecossistema. Produtos altamente tóxicos, cancerígenos, são lançados para a atmosfera e lençóis freáticos. Os governos prometem mundos e fundos de proteção, mas a realidade demonstra que raramente evitam os efeitos perigosos, não para o negócio, mas para as pessoas. E vai haver casos de países que já voltaram atrás em algumas licenças de exploração e por alguma razão foi. O gás natural, os efeitos que empresas e governos tentam esconder.
As perfuradoras de gás vão a uma grande profundidade. Quando chega à camada de carvão e xisto, a perfuradora move-se horizontalmente pela camada. Chama-se perfuração direcionada. William Egging é o diretor-geral da Shell África do Sul e tem planos para perfurar o deserto de Karoo.
How does it work? We have this horizontal section of the hole, which is properly sealed off, and then we push water down with 1% solution of chemicals. And that water also contains some sand grains. And what you do by pushing that water down, actually you create microfractures in the shale. The sand grains stay behind in these microfractures and they keep them open. That's the way hydraulic fracturing works.
A fraturação hidráulica, ou fracking, é apenas um aspecto de uma operação muito maior. Parece que todo o processo, desde a perfuração, o fracking, refinar, transportar o gás, é possivelmente mais poluente do que a indústria quer admitir. Devido ao secretismo da indústria do gás natural e da proteção legislativa de que tem beneficiado os Estados Unidos, é difícil perceber os factos por trás do processo. Na cidade do Cabo, a pesquisa de Mira e Jeff levou-os a uma das maiores petrolíferas da África do Sul, a Sasol, onde entrevistaram Steve Bowden, que acredita que a extração de gás é limpa e pode trazer benefícios económicos para a região.
There's lots of opportunities for sustainable development and minimal impact, and it's a clean energy resource. What more do you want? I mean, it's great.
They like to pretend there's never been a single example of groundwater pollution caused by fracking. This is ridiculous. There have been dozens, if not hundreds of examples all over the country now. But the industry continues to say that fracking has never caused any damage to groundwater aquifers. That's absurd. We have good evidence from Pennsylvania and Wyoming.
Este é o relatório sobre Parachute Creek, onde a empresa do Williams despejou pelo menos 40 mil litros de benzeno desta instalação de produção de gás.
The gas industry has done its best to wrap itself in the American flag, and they love to talk about clean burning natural gas. Well, yes, it's clean when it gets to you, but there's a trail of devastation that the gas industry leaves all the way back to the gas well.
O debate sobre abrir 20% da África do Sul à perfuração de gás dura há anos. Antes da batalha começar, uma empresa visitou Justin Creech para fazer prospecção de gás natural na sua quinta orgânica no deserto de Karoo. A criação de ovelhas traz milhões de dólares para a economia de Karoo todos os anos. É aqui que a Shell e muitas outras empresas querem perfurar gás natural.
Should fracking come our way, my stock would be exposed to many harmful chemicals. My integrity as a farmer would be challenged because I would not be able to guarantee the wholesomeness of my product. As a business, I would struggle to continue.
O Dr. Von Tonder é um dos geohidrologistas mais proeminentes do país. Trabalha na Universidade de Free State. Ele acredita que, devido à propriedade do cimento usado para fazer o revestimento à volta do tubo de metal, os poços vão inevitavelmente ter fugas. O impacto é catastrófico, permitindo que químicos tóxicos passem para o ar e para a água.
That cement will deteriorate with time. So all the gas wells eventually will leak gas. That's a given.
Até Ian Egging, da Shell, admite que a integridade dos poços pode ser um grande problema.
So if people have not sealed off the wells properly, then the gas can travel while you produce it behind the casing and the rocks upwards and end up in the water table.
O Dr. Von Tonder explica por que tantos poços são propensos a fugas.
Okay, what we see here is a double casing, a steel casing, the first one, and the second one. And even here you can see, after some time, can you see the cracks? There's cracks because it's different material. This is cement and this is steel. And cement cannot bond to steel. There's no way. And even around it, in practice, you will see there's rock and cement and then casing. And that will be the big problem.
Here in the Karoo, most people and most animals live off of water sources like this one, which is a borehole that has a windmill operating above it. And these old windmills, as creaky as they are, provide some of the only sources of water in the entire desert. It's boreholes like these that people are worried will end up being polluted by fracking liquids.
Raymond Klassen é agricultor Khoisan, descendente dos habitantes originais da África do Sul. Preocupa-o que o fracking polua as nascentes que abastecem as suas colheitas.
Van 'n fontein af wat nou vir die afgelope hoeveel jare, nou dis al baie jare, seker voor my tyd by die fonteine al loop. En hierdie water is ideaal vir hierdie soort. Want baie van ons klein Karoo of groot Karoo se boere is afhanklik van ondergrondse water af.
The issue of water is particularly important because here in South Africa we've recognized the fact that water is fundamental to life, and that if you're going to say you have a human right to life as protected in the Constitution, then it's meaningless unless you also protect the basic essentials of life, of which water is one.
O advogado ambiental Cornet Cullingan está convencido que a exploração de gás natural é contrária aos direitos consagrados na Constituição sul-africana.
With regards to natural gas extraction, that there are a lot of uncertainties, many gaps in information which had not been addressed. It may indeed leave the groundwater unfit for any use, and where the extraction is proposed to now take place is in an area that is extremely water scarce. And I think here I must emphasize, South Africa is a water scarce country. Our water is already over-allocated.
Quanta água será necessária para extrair gás no Karoo?
How much water do we need? We need for exploration well 1 to 2 million liters of water to drill the well. For a development well, which is longer, you probably have 10 million liters plus that you need for hydraulic fracturing and operations.
O governo do Cabo, na África do Sul, diz que a extração de gás natural no Karoo vai usar tanta água como o país consome em águas subterrâneas por ano. Uma indústria que usa e potencialmente polui este recurso precioso tem de ser vista à luz do esforço diário de muitas pessoas para terem acesso à água. Parece que estes desenvolvimentos na África do Sul são muito maiores do que se pensa.
What is a development? A development, again, works from these football pitch size areas at surface. You can drill nowadays up to 32 wells from one football pitch size area, and these all radiate from this site outwards. For development, you have something like 1,500 to 2,000 wells you drill. That means that you have 60 or 70 of these football pitches with 30 wells each. That is a development.
Maar geld is mos nie als nie, Jeff. Daar is meer kosbaarder goed in die lewe as wat dit geld is. Gesondheid is beter as geld.
It's often forgotten that the risk assessments are done on population. What they forget is that there are 10 million animals in the Karoo that feed this country, and that they may be contaminated. You contaminate somebody's water, that's the direct damage. But what of the consequential damage? The loss of income or ill health of animals or ill health of human beings.
Após décadas de extração de gás e fracking nos Estados Unidos, os agricultores acreditam que o gado foi contaminado. Lynn Blanket viu a sua vaca ficar doente por beber água perto de poços. A autópsia indicou toxicidade.
As she came off the mountain, she had stopped at each one of those pits and get a drink and go on to the next one until she come down to the house. And she died, and I autopsied her and proved that it was bad water and stuff that killed her.
And so when gas development comes into a landscape, there's thousands of these wells. And so even if there's a 1 in 1,000 chance of a major spill, if you have 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 wells, you're guaranteed to have several of these spills.
No Colorado, a agência que supervisiona os desenvolvimentos de gás e petróleo também devia proteger as comunidades, mas parece ter muitos poucos inspectores. Se um país com bons recursos como os Estados Unidos não tem inspectores suficientes, existe um perigo real de situação ser pior na África do Sul. Até Ian Egling, da Shell, admite que a África do Sul não tem capacidade para controlar a indústria.
The Petroleum Agency of South Africa, they know that they have to boost their manpower in order to have sufficient knowledge actually and capability to control this.
The government, in their draft report on natural gas extraction in the Karoo, said that there will be checks and balances put into place to make sure that there is no pollution caused by this activity. What do you think about that?
We have seen that those aspirational statements, those promises often are not fulfilled.
And a country with a weak regulatory regime means that the costs of compliance will be low and the risks of being prosecuted and incurring financial liabilities through non-compliance will also be low, which means that it'll be cheaper. So I have no doubt at all that companies have a direct financial incentive to prioritize fracking in jurisdictions where the regulations are weaker.
Na busca pelos desenvolvimentos na África do Sul, Mira e Jeff descobriram que enormes projetos de gás natural já estavam a decorrer no Botsuana. Após uma pesquisa minuciosa, encontraram este mapa publicado pelo governo do Botsuana, mostrando um enorme projeto, não divulgado, de metano de carvão em camada, ou MCC. Empresas estrangeiras começaram a perfurar em ecossistemas altamente sensíveis, mesmo dentro de parques naturais. Mira e Jeff reuniram a equipa e passaram a fronteira.
We moved a little slower today than I thought we were going to, but that's all right. We've made it into Botswana and we're going to stay the night near Mapamgubwe.
Eram visíveis várias provas de que a fraturação hidráulica já tinha chegado à região. No Botsuana, estão a explorar principalmente o irmão do gás de xisto, MCC. São ambos muito similares e implicam fracking para extrair. As principais diferenças entre eles é que a camada de MCC é mais superficial e, como tal, está mais perto do lençol freático. A outra principal diferença é que, para produzir gás em depósitos de MCC, a água na camada de carvão deve ser extraída por bomba até à superfície. É o que a indústria chama de água produzida. Enquanto a água é extraída da camada de carvão, pode levar a uma queda do lençol freático. No Wyoming, onde o MCC é extraído há décadas, este relatório do governo norte-americano documenta como alguns lençóis freáticos caíram até 30 metros quando os poços de MCC começaram a funcionar.
The water is of course salty, for sure, radioactive material in it.
Está provado que há radioatividade nos resíduos do gás natural. Este relatório da Universidade de Duke documenta claramente como os resíduos despejados no Black Click Creek, na Pensilvânia, tornaram o rio 200 vezes mais radioativo do que na corrente acima da fábrica. A água poluída num deserto como o do Botsuana pode ser um desastre para um país completamente dependente das águas subterrâneas.
There are 30 to 60,000 elephants that range through this area. It is the largest population of elephants left in Africa. I'm standing here with Ben Moeller on his farm north of Nata in Botswana. This area was a test site for a drill platform that was put up to look for coal bed methane.
Yeah, the rig, well, obviously was over the hole here. Then the wastewater, most of the wastewater went out there because it's lower there. At that point of time when it came out, the grass actually died. It's poisonous, the water that came out there.
These elephants are completely dependent upon water drawn from the ground from boreholes.
These elephants bank on these boreholes from us throughout up to Chobe. If it happens that those boreholes get contaminated through prospecting here in this area, it'll be a huge, huge disaster for the area. I just hope it never happen in my life.
Como muitos membros da comunidade com quem Mira e Jeff falaram sobre a prospecção de gás no Botsuana, Balefi não fazia ideia que esta área estava pensada para ser explorada.
Have you guys been consulted about the prospecting license for gas that was issued for just over here in Soapen?
I have never heard about that. When you showed me that map, I felt like we were left out, because to me it seems it was already, it's something that is has been already done. Because if this thing is happening, already we are affected.
Serene Jenner faz parte da equipa de advogados que defendeu com sucesso o direito do povo San, ou os Busquímanos, de ocupar as suas terras tradicionais na reserva de caça do Kalahari Central, no Botsuana. Os Busquímanos também ganharam direito ao acesso à água dos poucos e preciosos furos no Kalahari. As licenças de prospecção espalharam-se por metade da reserva de caça. A Mira, enquanto advogada dos direitos humanos, está muito preocupada com este desenvolvimento. Ameaça as fontes de água na terra ancestral dos Busquímanos e ameaça a sobrevivência destas pessoas.
I would be interested to know how many of our population on the ground is aware, and not even population on the ground. Government departments themselves are aware of the consequences of these ongoing activities.
Mostramos o mapa ao Dr. Moody da Universidade do Botsuana. Ele redigiu o primeiro relatório governamental sobre o desenvolvimento de gás natural e supervisionou a perfuração dos primeiros poços.
We started a project to look at coal resources, but from another dimension, just trying to go, the cleaner way of using coal resources, which itself has got lesser effect on the environment.
These licenses have been granted and may have been granted without anybody realizing the long-term consequence.
Fomos visitar um local remoto e bonito, chamado Kubu Island. Visitantes de todo o mundo acorrem neste monumento nacional e desfrutam dos céus estrelados e a maravilha natural do local, que é majestoso. De manhã falámos com Balefi, que gera o acampamento em Kubu para o Departamento de Antiguidades. O dinheiro do acampamento vai para a comunidade local. Esta área também está marcada para a perfuração de gás.
If anything of that kind is going to happen in this area, it will mean that people who are living in the edges of the pens or in the edges of Southern Suapen will be left empty-handed. The government should consult us in everything that is going to take place in an area we are living on.
I think that you're kidding yourself if you think that these small communities that have very little voice are going to be protected by their government, because this industry is going to run over their government just like they ran over our government here.
Nos Estados Unidos, as operações de fraturação hidráulica estão isentas de supervisão governamental, através de uma lei assinada pelo presidente Bush em 2005. Não estão sujeitas à lei do ar limpo, à lei do direito à comunidade de saber e à lei da água limpa e a outras leis criadas para proteger as comunidades. Parece que no Botsuana os regulamentos ambientais básicos também não estão a ser seguidos.
There's far greater risk and long-term loss that people will stand to sustain if proper environmental impact assessment reports are not conducted over these types of areas.
a condition, okay, the government, that we have to have an environmental impact assessment before the project can start.
We weren't required to do an environmental management plan for it, but in our opinion, it's best practice that we do.
You weren't required by the Botswana government to do an EIA?
No.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't an EIA, it's an environmental management plan.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't appear that there was anything in the legislation that actually triggers an environmental management plan process.
Sem um plano de gestão ambiental, é impossível para as comunidades afetadas, como a dos San, responsabilizarem as empresas pelos danos que podem causar.
This is the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. Conservationists and NGOs and local communities like the San Bushman people who call this place home are very worried about the gas development planned.
If you take a certain group of people, the indigenous people of Botswana, like the Central Kalahari Game Reserve Bushmen are there, are going to be much affected, as that is going to affect their way of life, because they are hunters, they are gatherers. So if you extract that from them, then you kill their culture, you killed what they are themselves.
Jumanda e o seu grupo levaram vários casos a tribunal para garantir os direitos dos busquímanos. A Seran teme que a vitória legal, tão difícil de conseguir, seja diminuída se for permitido à indústria operar tão livremente como faz de momento.
Water is not a resource that is overly abundant in Botswana as a whole, more especially within an area such as the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. I would say it's going to be an extremely far-reaching and dire for a sector of our population, if not the whole country.
Obviously, you're dewatering a coal seam.
Because sometimes the dewatering can actually lower the water table in some places.
Well, yeah, it has the potential to. The biggest issue around that is the geohydrology of the area. In Botswana, for example, the aquifer there is accessed by the local community for water. I mean, it's a dry, semi-arid environment, and they're quite reliant on that water. So we have to be cognizant of those things.
Quando Botsuana começou a considerar a exploração de gás, foi possível encontrar notas de imprensa a garantir que as águas residuais podiam ser usadas pelas comunidades locais.
There was a talk by the government that they were going to provide the water to communities.
That's another option as well, and that's a really good one actually, and I'm glad that you brought up that water one, because one of the big things with CBM is you produce water, and the thing is what do you do with that water? So really what you want to do is turn it into a revenue stream of some sort, if you're thinking from a business sense, or it's a contribution to the local community.
They call it produced water. You could just as easily call it poisoned water. It's toxic as hell. It would kill you if you drank any quantity of it. It'll kill birds, it'll kill human beings, it'll kill cattle. So this is poisonous stuff.
Yeah, it's a clean energy. It is. It's a clean energy resource. CBM plays or CBM production environments are very quiet. They're very sedate. Low levels of pollution, no noise. Visually, you can make them so that you can't even really see them.
Esta não tem sido a experiência da maior parte das pessoas que vivem ao pé dos poços, como a família Blancett, que recolheu dados durante 20 anos.
Coal bed methane is the dirtiest type of natural gas extraction that we have in the San Juan Basin.
You can actually have a commercial operation where you do not change land use, for example.
The wellheads are leaking. The pits have overflowed. They're unlined. They seep into the water sources, into the springs. And that was the main thing that caused us to quit ranching, is because our water's contaminated.
Can cause headaches, dizziness, drowsiness. You know, it's got all of this bad stuff on it. And they leave these unnetted or not netted properly. Wildlife can get in it. Cattle would just crowd up to one and push in and drink from it.
There's always going to be an impact with oil and gas. If your water's polluted and your animals are drinking that water, maybe they're not surviving. Even if they are, the economic benefit of those animals, people don't want to buy beef that's potentially polluted.
O que significa isto para os desenvolvimentos de gás em larga escala na África do Sul? Para descobrir, atravessámos grandes distâncias no deserto do Kalahari, passando por vários sítios para onde foram aprovadas licenças de perfuração. À entrada da reserva de caça do Kalahari Central, um diretor admitiu que a perfuração de gás vai avançar no parque.
That is why they are drilling for gas that side.
And they're drilling in the park.
Yeah, in the park, yeah, exactly.
Ao longo das antigas rotas de migração de animais, é possível ver enormes buracos, provavelmente à espera de serem enchidos com resíduos. Até nos limites da reserva Kama-Rino, Mira e Jeff encontraram a empresa Kalahari a trabalhar com caminhões de perfuração americanos.
They practically do everything from drilling to through to the fracking. And, you know, it's assessing the equipment. Do you need more equipment to improve the fracks? And then last year we were horizontal drilling and deciding which is the best way to go. But we got some reasonable results over in that. We've been flaring gas over there now for about 2 years.
A maior empresa de perfuração do Botsuana, Duat Drilling, trabalha por todo o país, incluindo perto dos bebedouros dos elefantes. Eles reconhecem que perfuraram na reserva de caça do Kalahari Central. A Sasol perfurou a norte do santuário Kama-Rino. E a Sasol tem grandes planos para o Botsuana.
In terms of a CBM commercial development on a large scale, you're looking at thousands of gas wells. So you may have over, maybe a 3,000 square kilometre area, you might be running 2,500 gas wells at any one time.
Este é um desenvolvimento semelhante de poços de gás no Colorado. Ben Moller pensa que isto são más notícias para os animais. Por quem se sente responsável?
In dry seasons, we've got a huge problem to have enough water for our elephants. We bring water from a borehole not so far from us, but we're using anything between 20 and 30 to 35,000 litres a day.
For the elephant.
For the elephant.
Birds and other wildlife can get trapped in these holding ponds where the water is being held. And we don't have a clear idea of, is this water really being handled safely? And clearly in some circumstances it's not.
There's always been that possibility that we're going to pollute the environment.
Do you think that trading something like the CKGR and the ecosystem that exists there that has supported, say, the San and Baswara community for so long is a fair trade-off for the natural gas resource that lies beneath it?
Yeah, because, what else can you do?
In the end, we can have no job creation, we can now have no economic growth if we destroyed our water resources or our environment.
Os países africanos promovem a perfuração de gás natural como uma forma de impulsionar a economia e criar empregos. Como a maior parte dos trabalhadores são importados, os benefícios económicos não chegam às comunidades locais. A Steve Bowden, da Sasol, sugere que isso é verdade.
It doesn't require a lot of people, but you need very specialised skills. If you can't source them in country, then you've got to go outside the country and bring people in to be able to do it.
What comes from that is the boom and bust cycle, which has been well recorded and documented in the United States, where there's this enormous influx of workers with lots of money to spend. The local business people expand their businesses, they cater to this rush of activity for 2 or 3 years, and when that team moves on, the economy contracts to much smaller and worse off than it was before.
It constantly amazes me that when developments like fracking are proposed, the response that you get is, but it'll create jobs. But quite frankly, it depends what kind of jobs. There is no benefit, in my view, in creating jobs which harm society.
The jobs are completely unsustainable. They're for specialized people. And the economics of shale gas is showing that the sustainability and the depletion rate of the world is that it's a very short-term thing and a short-term benefit.
Segundo investigadores do Departamento de Agricultura dos Estados Unidos, o impulso do gás natural afasta outros empregos mais sustentáveis na agricultura e turismo. Quando termina o ponto alto, as indústrias sustentáveis não recuperam. Num acampamento remoto perto de Ganzi, no Botsuana, o ativista do Sun partilha as preocupações do seu povo.
First thing, those companies, when they come, they bring people which are educated and aspects and technology, whatever the technology is used to today, none of us had it. A lot of people just then, they are not educated, they are not trained for those jobs, and so they will not benefit anything from that mining.
This is the town of Parachute, Colorado. Parachute has thousands of gas wells, and many of the people who come here to work on these wells come from Canada or out of state. This entire valley, although it has 10,000 gas wells, has only a few hundred jobs in the oil and gas industry for people who live here.
I know the money is tempting. The jobs are just temporary. Yeah, we had a big boom for maybe a year, and then everybody was laid off.
So who's making the money? It's a good question. Typically, most of the money goes back to the oil and gas companies. Typically, their senior executives are very well paid.
No Colorado e em África, as empresas de gás parecem poluir o processo político, comprando poder com grandes investimentos.
It has been reported publicly, and it's not been denied, that Tebe Investments, which is an investment company of the ANC, has a shareholding in Shell South Africa.
It's affecting our country, so we can not allow this fraction wherever, whenever, whatsoever in South Africa or in the Karoo for that matter.
There's definitely some jobs that come along with this, but they don't stick around for that long, and oftentimes it's a bit of a transient population because you need a lot of people at once to come in, and there's what are called man camps located along the corridor where they're drilling, and a bunch of young men in a community without a family, definitely changes the social vibe of that community.
A própria Shell investiu 24 mil milhões de dólares em gás de xisto nos Estados Unidos e, em outubro de 2013, admitiu ter perdido 1,3 mil milhões no investimento.
Many reports from the financial media and industry journals suggest that there is a bubble in the natural gas market. Many projected profits don't account for the high well depletion rates that are being recorded in most gas fields in the United States. Independent economists like Jeremy Weber suggest that most of the money from this industry does not stay local.
Na maior parte de África, a indústria mineira de extração não trouxe grandes benefícios aos pobres.
The riches of mining in Africa have never ever been shown to trickle down to the people that have to live with the consequences of it.
The entire wetlands of the Witwatersrand had now been classified either as radiological hotspots because of acid mine drainage and mining pollution, but it also now contains elevated levels of cadmium, cobalt, copper, zinc, arsenic and uranium.
Para entender os efeitos de grandes indústrias de extração, um bom indicador é a forma como a África do Sul lidou no passado com este tipo de desenvolvimentos. As pessoas aqui são expostas todos os dias a níveis perigosos de águas poluídas e radioativas. E o governo parece ser incapaz de as ajudar. Para entender melhor o pesadelo dos resíduos mineiros, Mira e Jeff falaram com uma veterana na luta para conter a vasta corrente de poluição tóxica das minas de Joanesburgo.
The Robinson Lake, which was a popular recreational area, in 2002 now contains uranium levels at 16 milligrams per litre. That is 40,000 times above natural uranium levels in natural water. 11,491 persons are dependent on that water, solely dependent on that water, for drinking purposes, for irrigation of crops. It's very important to emphasize that if you drink acid mined water undiluted, it will be fatal.
Até níveis baixos de exposição a este nível de poluição podem causar cancro. O governo diz que irá controlar a segurança da perfuração de gás. Pode o governo fazer cumprir as regras criadas para o gás quando não consegue proteger a população que ainda está a pagar o preço das riquezas históricas como o ouro, o carvão e até o amianto? Mesmo com legislação correta, a maior parte dos danos quase nunca podem ser remediados após terem acontecido. A cidade de Priesca é um exemplo terrível.
Priesca, for example, that lawsuit was pursued decades after the initial damage was caused. You may only contract asbestosis and die of lung cancer or have difficulties, health issues, may only become apparent decades from when the actual harm was caused. So you have massive difficulties of proof.
A Chris Julius está a morrer de cancro de pulmão relacionado com o amianto. Ele cava num aterro de amianto azul, uma das muitas pilhas que existem na cidade. É um exemplo de como a indústria disse que era seguro, levou os lucros para o estrangeiro e deixou a população em péssimas condições.
Ja, Prieska is een van die min dorpe in Noord-Kaap waar mense net kan deurry en kanker opdoen.
In South Africa, mining companies have escaped their obligations to rehabilitate and do remedial work because they disappear, and only years later does the harm become apparent, and then what happens inevitably is that government's got to try and do a clean-up at the cost of the taxpayer.
Without me, when you want more than you have, you think you need.
I've come to the Denver Federal Center to meet with the Center for Disease Control about some of the hazardous substances used in fracking mixtures here in Colorado.
Were you surprised at how much silica people were getting in?
Yes.
I mean, this is essentially something that shouldn't be in your lungs, right?
Correct.
It's a carcinogen.
Max Kiefer trabalha no Centro de Controlo de Doenças em Denver. Eles lançaram um aviso nacional para os trabalhadores sobre um composto cancerígeno usado em operações de fracking. Mas e as pessoas que vivem perto das operações e que são expostas constantemente a estes químicos em volta dos poços de gás?
Initial hazard assessments identified respirable crystalline silica during the hydraulic fracturing process, where they inject hundreds of thousands of pounds of oftentimes silica sand to use as what's called a proppant inside the well.
Anthony Peacock vive em Garfield County, Colorado, e diz que fica doente sempre que há perfurações ou fracking na sua comunidade.
Not just in the water, it's in the air. You know, they might call it just dust.
The important thing is that it's what's called a progressive disease, and that is that the disease will progress even if exposure stops. So there is no cure for this disease.
Living inside a gas field sucks big time because it has impacts on your health. Your roads are crowded. The quality of life, broadly speaking, for most of the people directly impacted goes down, and in some cases down quite dramatically.
I've come here to the place I was born in the North Fork Valley of the Gunnison River in Colorado to meet with Dr. Theo Colborn. Dr. Colborn is one of the foremost scientists in the world studying the effects of endocrine disruptor chemicals on the human body. She and many other scientists here are worried about these chemicals entering our bodies and the ecosystem because of the large-scale natural gas developments that are happening.
One of our staff set out to systematically set up a database in order to look at the long list of chemicals that we had at hand. Of those products that had health effects, 14% had 1 to 3 effects and 86% had 4 to 14 effects. And what surprised us was to find that 43% of the products on our list contain endocrine disruptors, chemicals that can interfere with the development of individuals before they are born and cause irreversible lifetime changes in their health and how they function later in life.
Muitas das preocupações relacionadas com o gás natural giram à volta da água. Mas um número crescente de estudos mostram que a qualidade do ar é, na realidade, um dos riscos mais graves para as pessoas que vivem perto dos poços. Após ser processado pelo Wireless Workshop, o governo dos Estados Unidos admitiu que tinha violado a lei ao não fazer uma adequada análise da qualidade do ar em 1.300 poços de gás que queriam perfurar numa área sensível, perto da casa de Jeffrey Barbie.
Not only do you have methane emissions, which contribute a lot more to global warming, than carbon dioxide, but you've got all the pollutants and chemicals used in fracking.
Well, you know, Jeff, for a long time, I've been thoroughly convinced that it's what is in the air that is affecting people, and especially with my experience with all the people in Garfield County, because they start complaining the day drilling starts.
I've come here to Basalt, Colorado to meet with Dr. John Hughes. Dr. Hughes has been doing blood tests on people who live very close to natural gas wells here in Colorado. And he's got some very important data to share with us about the dangers of the chemical compounds from natural gas drilling and what it may mean to people who live around these wells.
And what we found in our study is that the patients who lived closest to the wells had the highest concentration of some particular volatile organic compounds. One's called ethylbenzene and styrene.
Os compostos orgânicos voláteis, ou COV, são substâncias altamente perigosas que podem imitar hormonas do corpo humano, causar cancro e defeitos de nascimento. Os principais ingredientes de COV nas plumas químicas como esta são benzeno, etileno, tolueno e xileno. São chamados químicos BTEX para abreviar.
An organic chemical compound in a chemistry lab is one of the most dangerous compounds you can actually be exposed to. You can have serious side effects, everything from cancer to eye disorders to toxicity symptoms, just like these patients that I saw exposed to the natural gas wells.
Von Tonder acredita que uma explicação possível para estes compostos serem libertados no ar são as fugas nos poços. Além dos químicos nas misturas de fracking, os compostos orgânicos voláteis ocorrem naturalmente nas camadas de carvão e xisto subterrâneas. Quando as camadas são furadas e o poço é fraturado hidraulicamente, os cientistas dizem que esses gases escapam constantemente. A pesquisa do Dr. Hughes sobre os efeitos destes gases nas comunidades tem sido usada pelos legisladores para ajudar a escrever alguns dos regulamentos ambientais mais duros dos Estados Unidos, quanto à distância a que as pessoas devem viver dos poços de gás. Mas há outros novos estudos que apontam para muitos outros problemas. De volta ao Botsuana, uma das pessoas que aprovou o plano de perfuração de gás para o governo acredita que, como o gás natural queima de forma limpa no forno, o processo é melhor e mais seguro para o ambiente do que usar carvão.
The intention was to move a step up from the level where we are using coal, knowing that coal, of course, has got a lot of emission, going to coal-based methane, which will lessen the amount of emissions.
Os últimos estudos nos Estados Unidos mostram que estas alegações ambientais são falsas. O Instituto de Investigação Ártica e Alpina da Universidade do Colorado recolhe o maior conjunto de dados na qualidade do ar de todo o mundo. Eles trabalham com o Dr. Hughes na monitorização da qualidade do ar em locais de poços para o seu estudo sobre os efeitos destes químicos na saúde.
We were asked to do some air monitoring, air quality monitoring in the places where these people are living to investigate if there was possibly exposure to air contaminants. What we found is that the levels we're seeing in that regions are highly elevated over what we would have expected.
Mas de onde vem esta poluição?
These compounds are released by that particular industry because we don't see them in other places, and the closer you get to the oil and gas development areas, the higher the concentrations. For the Uinta Basin, on the order of 7-8% of the produced natural gas, 7 to 8% of what's being produced is vented into the atmosphere.
Venting into the atmosphere?
Is venting into the atmosphere.
Segundo este documento da Universidade do Colorado, pelo menos 6,2 a 11% de todo o metano gerado em Uinta County está a ser libertado na atmosfera. O estudo mostra que se a fuga de gás fosse contida, enchia 4 dos maiores cargueiros do mundo. O metano e os COV, estas emissões fugitivas de perfuração de gás, parecem ter roubado o pedigree ecológico do país.
The Uinta Basin has had more exceedances of the U.S. National Ambient Air Quality Standard in ozone than downtown Los Angeles.
Fomos ao Alasca falar com o Dr. Cavanaugh, que estuda os efeitos nos glaciares dos gases com efeito de estufa, como o metano. É o maior projeto deste tipo na América do Norte. Estas grandes quantidades de metano a saírem dos poços de gás são uma séria preocupação para os cientistas. Com estes novos factos, vemos que o gás natural é pelo menos 2 vezes pior para as alterações climatéricas do que o carvão. 95% dos glaciares na América do Norte estão a derreter e estes cientistas tentam entender porquê. O metano da perfuração de gás é parte do problema.
If you have a gas that lets the energy in but doesn't let it escape, then you have a warming influence.
If you compare molecule by molecule, one methane molecule with one CO2 molecule, the one methane molecule would cause 40 times as much warming than the one CO2 molecule.
Methane is one of a number of greenhouse gases, but it's particularly powerful because because of its low concentration, any small addition of methane increases its effectiveness.
As enormes emissões de metano dos campos de gás deviam preocupar toda a gente, não importa a que distância vivam dos poços, porque contribuem para um problema maior e mais global. Em setembro de 2013, uma enorme cheia arrasou as instalações à superfície de 1.900 poços de gás em Weld County, Colorado. É uma das zonas com mais fracking nos Estados Unidos e ninguém sabe exatamente quanto foi espalhado, mas milhares de toneladas de contaminantes foram arrastadas para o rio South Platte. O impacto total deste desastre na indústria agrícola local ou mesmo infraestrutura de gás ainda não é completamente conhecido.
We're driving right now through Weld County, Colorado, where a 100-year flood has washed out the gas and oil well infrastructure. This is an absolutely perfect illustration, according to these citizens groups, of the dangers of putting these types of installations in rural landscapes like this one.
You're looking at the natural gas industry taking a tremendous blow and the people taking a blow with them. What I'm seeing is a hell of an awful event. I mean, you've got the most natural gas populated area in the state completely overrun with flooding. And what we see out here in front of us is just, it is the case example of every reason why the citizens here want these wells out, why they want to stop the drilling, why they want to stop the pollution. There's air pollution problems, there's water pollution problems, and we're going to see even more of that now when it comes to this damaged infrastructure. I don't think the natural gas industry was prepared for this at all.
A indústria do petróleo e gás perfurou centenas de poços nas zonas de inundação do rio e não tomou qualquer precaução para proteger a comunidade num caso de cheia como esta.
I'm actually in the oil field.
And what do you think when you see this?
It's horrible, man. A lot of people have lost everything because of all this.
But some people say that people shouldn't be putting these wells this close to the river.
I believe so. They say that they have stuff in case something like this happens. I don't believe it, to be honest with you.
And you work?
I believe all that was submerged underwater at one point, so all that gas has to be somewhere, because it's not under there no more.
There's a huge environmental cost we just haven't quantified at all yet. There's a cost to wildlife, air quality, there's a social cost. All of these tend not to be easily quantified in the same way that we can say, well, that well will produce $5 million worth of natural gas. These other costs could be much larger than that, but they're harder to quantify.
Living and staying next to such kind of dangerous companies or industries is going to affect our culture. In few years, it's going to be bye-bye with the culture and the Bushmen themselves to be existing in the earth. Imagine if you talk about the United States, which everyone knows that when you talk about the United States, everything, technology, everything is very high there. But look at our country. It's still a developing country. So if you bring gas companies like this, and if they've destroyed and have done bad things in the United States, what about Botswana? And what will happen here? That means that it's going to be a mess.
Quando, no fim de 2013, saiu a história no jornal The Guardian sobre a corrida à exploração de gás no Botsuana, o mundo reagiu com choque. Hoje em dia, milhares de jornais, blogs, estações de televisão, rádio e outros mídia cobriram a história de fracking nos parques nacionais do Botsuana. Um diálogo nacional sobre a perfuração levou a discussão ao Parlamento do país, pela primeira vez. Finalmente, as comunidades estão a ser informadas sobre o que está em jogo. Após a publicação da história, o governo do Botsuana entregou um novo mapa mostrando que muitas das licenças de perfuração no território dos busquímanos tinham sido canceladas. Novas licenças em muitos outros parques nacionais estão no novo mapa. Por isso, a batalha não está ganha. As empresas de perfuração estão interessadas em vastas áreas do planeta. O que o Botsuana está a enfrentar não é diferente do Montana, nos Estados Unidos, da Roménia, do Chile ou dos Campos Verdes, em Inglaterra. Os países têm de ter plena consciência dos graves riscos desta indústria extrativa insustentável. Muitos estão a tomar essa consciência. Estes são os países, estados, comunidades e cidades que baniram o fracking. A lista fica mais longa, todos os dias.
Para rever esta emissão, basta consultar o site abaixo indicado, uma vez que o Observatório do Mundo é emitido em diferentes horários e foi bom tê-lo desse lado. Fique por aí, fica bem. Boa noite.